Hey, how you doing? David Taub here. Hope everyone is well. Today is Thursday, October 8th, 2020, and just absolutely devastated by the news that on October 6th, 2 days ago, Eddie Van Halen passed. And it's just 2020 has just been such a horrific year on so many fronts, and it just seems to keep getting worse. And now this is just absolutely devastating news. And I'm sure, like many of you, once I found out on Tuesday, the day he passed. His son Wolfgang posted a message on Twitter, and soon after I started getting text messages, and then my Facebook started blowing up, and everyone, I got contacted by a lot of my friends and guitar buddies, and did you hear what happened? Did you hear? Did you hear? This was 2 days ago, and I know a lot of people have been posting videos, and I just needed a couple days to just kind of process the whole thing, I guess. Like I was going to post a guitar lesson today, but I don't think I'm going to do that. I wanted to post this. Um, it's just a very, very sad time, very tragic. He was only 65 years old, so he's very young, struggling with cancer for a long time. I had heard through the grapevine that he was actually feeling better, before I guess he just took a bad turn. And, I heard also that, he was even talking about his next musical project. So that was certainly, incredibly positive. And then I guess, he just took a turn for the worse. And, my thoughts and prayers go out to his family and, all his fans out there. And I wanted to make this video for several reasons. And one of them is when you're talking about revolutionaries on the instrument, right? We usually talk about two names come up, right? Jimi Hendrix and Eddie Van Halen. These two guys just totally took the guitar and music world and turned it upside down. And Eddie Van Halen's influence on not just guitar players, but musicians all over the world is just staggering. Just staggering. And it was so many things with him, in my opinion. Besides just his insane technical skills, he was doing things that, he just brought things to the forefront that no one had before, and uh, all wrapped up in great songs, fun songs, and his aura or his stage presence or the way that he carried himself, always smiling and always positive. He was just the total package. He was, in my opinion, one of the greatest of all times, but just like a once in a generation kind of musician, right? That just totally spins things on its ear like that. So I just wanted to come on and talk about this for a little bit, and I certainly want to hear some of your stories and some of your thoughts. So put them down below, and we'll get some dialogue going back and forth. Because I'll tell you, Eddie Van Halen, is one of the reasons that I started playing guitar. I was really, really young, and I don't remember exactly where I saw it, but it was on television, and I saw Van Halen. They were on, and he was playing some guitar, and I was like blown away by the sounds. But then there was some backstage shenanigans going on with him and David Lee Roth, and they were just having fun. It was like a big party, and I said to myself then, I was like, wow, wouldn't that be something to be able to do that for a living? And I was so blown away by the guitar sounds and his playing. He was one of the driving forces that got me super into guitar. And I get that question asked a lot when I talk to people or when I get interviewed. They're like, "Who are some of your interviews?" And my first one out of my mouth every time is Eddie Van Halen, as it is for so many guitar players all around the world. He has influenced them and musicians, and for so many reasons besides just his dazzling technical ability and his right hand tapping technique, which there was jazz guys doing that like in the 50s, and you could pull up YouTube videos and see guys doing it, but nobody did it the way he did it. Nobody brought it to the forefront the way he did it and incorporated it and took it to a whole new place, along with everything else that he did. And everyone always talks about his lead playing, which was, just epic, but his rhythm playing, if you listen to those songs he created, his rhythms, and a lot of those rhythms are tricky to play. He just had, because he had a certain swagger, a certain kind of swing to them, right? He was just a tremendous rhythm player, and all the little things he would throw in, the little pinch harmonics and the squeals and the squeaks and the pick slides, and in that package of just so many incredible songs. And if you listen to the Van Halen records, a lot of times every song. I mean, there's so many hits and so many tremendous songs that just have his DNA plastered all over them. and thank God we'll have those with us till the end of time, right? And he'll always be remembered for his music. And not only did he kind of change the whole face of guitar playing, but he kind of also had a huge impact and kind of changed the world of the guitar itself. Because when he got that endorsement deal with Kramer Guitars, I think it was in like 1982, that changed everything. Everyone was going out and buying, those, whether it be a Kramer or a Strat, super Strat style guitar, or, hot pickups, that became pointy headstocks. That was it. I mean, back then you couldn't give away Les Pauls, right? Everyone was playing those. And me, myself, I did the same thing. I went out, I don't remember exactly when, but I bought a Kramer guitar. I bought a Pacer. I don't have the guitar, I sold it years ago, but that was my main guitar for a long time. Here's a picture of a similar Pacer, but it was a Kramer Pacer red, single coil, and a humbucker and 2 single coils, I believe it had. And I had that guitar a long time. Me, like many of my contemporaries, I mean, that was just what you played back then. That was what you did. Everybody wanted to have that little bit of Van Halen in their playing. And that just blasted Kramer. They were selling out everybody. I mean, it literally, I mean, and Eddie Van Halen was the nexus for all of that. He just totally changed the whole face of music and guitar playing. There certainly hasn't been anything like that since, and there may not be anything like that again. It really was just such an incredible dynamic that he brought to the music industry, to rock music, to the world in general. And I was lucky enough, I saw him play live 3 times. I saw him play in 1982 on the Diver Down tour, and then I saw him again live in 1984. These were big arena shows. And then I saw him on the Monsters of Rock tour, and that was Van Halen's Monster of Rock. A lot of people just say Monsters of Rock. It was Van Halen's Monster of Rock tour, 1988. And the reason I know all this is because I saved the ticket stubs. So I'll show you some pictures of those. I used to save, I still do save all the ticket stubs from all the concerts, or most of them that I went to, and for many years I just had them sitting in a box. And then recently, Valentine's Day, my girlfriend did an amazing job. To my surprise, she took them all out and she meticulously mounted them behind glass in these frames, and she did 2 big frames worth. It's not all the stubs, but a lot of them. And here's some pictures of those ticket stubs. I mean, look at the prices back then, right? Crazy. But each time I saw him play live, I mean, and especially the first show early on, and like everyone else, like the first time on that Van Halen record, the first one, my reaction was just like everyone else, just head scratching, like, do you know those scenes from the cartoons where the characters' eyeballs kind of come out, where their glasses kind of flip over and go back? It was that kind of moment, just like, how are these sounds being created? Is that even the guitar? And how is he doing that? And it was just totally revolutionary. And then going to see him play live, he just had it all. I mean, he every now and then you see this musician on stage who just has that aura around them. I don't know how to explain it other than he had it. And I've seen a few other people that had it too. He had it for sure. He just had this aura around him, and always smiling, never a note out of place, and just insane wicked talent. And each time I saw him of the 3 times was just totally blown away by his staggering talent, his ability to put all of that in a package of an amazing song, his rhythm playing, his solo playing, his having such a good time, the total just chaos and debauchery, which was Van Halen, right? Just it's just amazing. And in my office over the years, I always keep pictures of bands and guitar players hanging on the wall, of guitar players that have influenced me, and different band things. And I always have the Van Halen picture, like most other. And I really love this picture of him because it just kind of captures a moment, right, where he's doing his right hand tapping, and he has his pose and the look and the hair, and just everything is just perfect, right? As well as the sounds coming out of his guitar. But it really captured. And if you look at pictures of Eddie Van Halen, just pull them up, they all kind of exemplify that. His just total command of the instrument, and his heart, his soul, and his passion going into his playing. And it shows, right? And like I said before, I feel so lucky that I grew up in a time in the 80s where I was able to see so many of these amazing bands and players, and I was able to see him live back on the East Coast where I grew up. And I'll always have those memories, as everyone else will who's seen him play live, or they'll always have his music, right? And we could take comfort in the fact that he left this legacy that will never ever be forgotten. It's so hard when our heroes die because I don't know, there's just something about our heroes and these people that we look up to. We kind of think they're just invincible, right? And then, we realize as we get older that, not to get too deep or anything, but it's hard because, you realize that certain people, they're just not going to be in your life anymore. And it's hard to deal with. But like I said, we can take comfort in the fact that we have his legacy and his music and the band's music and everything he did that we'll have to listen to, and that will go on forever. I thought I'd share just a couple stories, Van Halen stories, with you to kind of close this out. And both of these kind of relate to the guitar sounds because, like I always say with music, right, it's about the sounds you're creating and the moods you're creating. And, as guitar players, we're so infatuated with tone and getting this incredible tone. And, we all chase after the tone. And so many people, try to recreate that Van Halen tone, that Brown sound. And growing up, especially, I was really infatuated with, getting that sound. And it reminded me of two stories, two things that kind of brought me back down to earth. As far as you are never going to sound like that, so you better just get your sound, develop your own sound, and certainly be influenced by everyone. But so much of your tone comes from your hands and your style and what's in your hands and your heart. Yes, the gear matters a bit too, and you want to play through the best gear you can afford and the sounds that motivate you. But ultimately, Eddie Van Halen can play through any amp and use any guitar, whether it's a Kramer guitar, or any Ball Music Man, a Wolfgang guitar, whatever. He's going to sound like Eddie Van Halen, right? When Van Halen was first coming out on the scene, they were opening up for a lot of bigger acts, and one time they were opening up for Ted Nugent. And Eddie Van Halen, Van Halen was doing their sound check. Ted Nugent was listening, couldn't believe the sounds coming out of Eddie's amps, was just amazed. And after Van Halen left the stage, Ted Nugent talked to his guitar tech and talked him into letting him plug into Eddie's rig. He's like, let me plug into Eddie's rig. Plugs into Eddie's rig and he starts playing and jamming. And guess what? He sounds like Ted Nugent, right? You know what I mean? So, that story was like, maybe it's just more than, the guitar you're using or the amp that you're playing through. One other story, it's kind of related to Van Halen on the periphery. When I was growing up, I was really into the hard rock and the metal scene, and one of the best clubs on the East Coast where I was living was the Birch Hill in New Jersey, to go hear a lot of these acts. And I saw a lot of incredible musicians and bands, Birch Hill and also the Playpen. If you're from the East Coast, New Jersey, you know these places. And I used to go see a band there all the time, the best cover band in the area. We were all playing in bands, back then. And you know how it is. There's always one band that's just a notch above everyone else, that just has, the best singer, the best guitar player, the best of the best of the best, and they're the best, right? And that band, the cover band at the time, was a band called Edgar Casey. And the guitar player was this guy named Ken Dubman. And they actually played as an all-original band named Prophet. And they had a record deal, actually, and had a couple of records out. I wasn't a huge into their original music as much as I loved them doing covers, because they did covers that nobody did. They would come out as a three-piece, just Ken Dubman playing guitar, the bass player, and the drummer, and they would do, AC/DC and Whitesnake, and he would come out and he would play the intro to Mean Street, note for note perfect. I mean, this guy was the guy, right? And everybody would just stand in front of him and watch him play all night because he was that good. But he would play the songs note for note. He would play, and then he sang, and then he would sing Mean Street on top of that, perfect, right? They would do the most awesome, and then like 5, 6, 7 songs in, then their singer would come out. They had a sing, and the bass player sang, and he was awesome too. Then the singer would come out, and they would do crazy. They would do Queensryche. They would do Dio, like they do the Last in Line, and he would play the Last in Line solo like perfectly note for note. I mean, these guys were awesome. But what I did one time was I went backstage. I kind of got back into the backstage area before they came on, and Ken Dubman, he was warming up. and he was playing through this little PV 112. This was a long time ago. I still remember this. He was playing through this little PV 112. I don't know what model it was, but he was just warming up playing Eruption, and it was perfect. And it sounded so amazing coming through that amp. I was like, "What is that amp? I gotta know what that amp is. It's just a PV." Then they went on stage and they played Eruption. He did it perfectly. And then after I got to thinking, it's like, you know what? The amp really didn't have that much to do with it at all. I mean, that guy was just a monster player, and his technique and his the way he was bending the strings and how he was digging in, and no matter what song he played, they would do other covers and they would sound perfect. The whole point of that being that I started to put a little bit less into the going after the settings and the amps and the effects and this and that, and concentrate more on the actual playing and developing my style. And that was all due to Van Halen. That was all his influence, as well as so much more of his influence on my playing. It just makes you think even more about how insanely talented a guy like Eddie Van Halen was. And on top of that, just original, just so unique with the things that he did and what he brought to the guitar. Share some of your Van Halen thoughts with me. I'd love to read about them. We can talk about them. Put your comments below. Subscribe to the channel. Thanks so much for watching. I'll get some more lessons up soon. And I'm going to go listen to some Van Halen. I hope you do too. And we will keep his memory alive. Take care. Keep rocking. And I'll see you soon.